So Internet of Things components are designed from hardware and software combined. So you don't just have the software that you write, you just have the code. It's always wired to some kind of different hardware components to make something happen in the real world or to receive information from the real world. So it's a combination of hardware and software, and this is part of what makes them harder to design than traditional systems. So it's not just a traditional software system like desktop software, and all you think about is the code, and then you make it run on an arbitrary desktop. In this case, you're writing software, but for a specific hardware platform, and a hardware platform that may not be developed yet, right? So maybe, and actually in big companies, this is a big issue, right? You want to start writing your software and designing the hardware at the same time. But how do you write your software when you don't even know what the hardware is that's going to be running on? So there are lots of different techniques that people use to do that. In our case, it's a little bit simpler. We know that we're using an Arduino platform. And so, but we may not know the details of the circuit. But still, in the end, you have to design both sides, and they have to work together. So the hardware is what actually interacts with the physical world. So the hardware, it does everything. It receives input from the outside. It actuates, so it does things in the outside world. So maybe it has a microphone that picks up sound. It has a speaker that outputs sound, something like that. So it's the hardware that's actually interacting with the outside world. But it's actually the software, usually the software that acts as the intelligence, let's say. So the software takes the data received from the hardware, interprets it in some way, and then causes the hardware to do something, orders the hardware to do something. So for instance, say you've got some kind of sound going on. There's a sound, and your system's supposed to hear the sound, and when the sound, if somebody says a word, then it should trigger a behavior. So let's say when somebody says, turn on TV, the TV should turn on. So you'll have a microphone that's receiving the information, receiving the sound, the words turn on the TV. Then the software will process that information, realize what the words are, turn on TV. And then it'll say, oh, that matches whenever I see that, I want to turn on the TV. So then it'll have an actuator that drives some hardware that actually activates the TV, turning it on. So that's the way I think about it. The software is the intelligence inside, but the hardware is actually doing all the work. So you need both. So because of that, we need to know a little bit about electrical circuits, right? We're going to be building some small circuits. Now, I don't want this class to be heavily, an electrical engineering class. Circuit design is a hard thing. But when you're doing this type of IoT design, you need to know a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. Most of this, in the class, we are focusing on software, but there is this hardware side, and we need to know a little bit. So we're going to talk about a little bit about electricity. And we'll start with some real basics. We're going to talk about current going through a circuit. And we're going to compare that to water going through some kind of a water pumping system. It's a very similar analogy. It's a common analogy for explaining electronics. So you see on the left side of the screen, you got electrical current flowing through a wire. So you got a battery over there. It's got a plus terminal, minus terminal, and current flows through that wire that connects the plus terminal to the minus terminal. It goes from the plus to the minus through the wire. Now, that is similar to a system, a water pump system. So you got some pipes, right? And there's a pump that you see there, and this pump is pumping the water through the circuit. And it's a very similar idea. And so that's the analogy that we're going to be talking about for a few slides. And note that in the electrical circuit, the battery is pushing the current, providing the power that it needs. And in the water system, the water pump is pushing the current through. But they are performing similar functions. Thank you.